Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Bahamas. I am so happy to be back online for another edition of NTA Exclusive. And indeed, I am excited about today's show because we have a special guest on with us today, all the way from Exuma. And she's going to be introducing herself. But it's a beautiful day here in New Providence. If you're watching us right now on Facebook and YouTube, go ahead and begin sharing this link with your family and friends. We would love to see this viewership go up. Mr. Miller, how are you doing today?
Good evening, NTA Nation. Mr. Cunningham, I am great. I'm happy to see you. Happy to see our special guest, Mrs. Saunders, all the way in Exuma. But you know, Mr. Cunningham, before we get started, we have to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Oak Tree Medical Center, J Fitness, Paradise Promotional Products, Wong's Rubber Stamp and Printing Co. Limited, and Distinguished Kings for supporting us. Yes, so I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm great. I am so great. I'm just ready to start this conversation with Ms. Saunders. I know we haven't had her on in a while on NTA Exclusive, but I'm sure she is excited. Ms. Saunders, how you doing and how's everything going over there in Exuma?
Good evening, Mr. Miller, and good evening, Mr. Cunningham, and good evening, NTA Nation. Everything in Exuma is perfect as always. Exuma is the pearl in this part of the Bahamas.
Awesome. So glad to hear. I'm so happy when I'm able to actually have an opportunity to visit Exuma. I believe Exuma is one of the most, if not the most, it is definitely one of the most beautiful islands in the Bahamas. So anybody, when you get a chance to visit Exuma or the beaches, the beaches are phenomenal, especially on the Keys, so it's so beautiful. So we're happy to have you on, Ms. Saunders, and it brings me to my first question. I just want to ask you, tell us a little bit more about yourself. What is your role presently at NTA, and how long have you been functioning in that capacity?
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity to share, Mr. Cunningham. So, the National actually in August 18, when I served as a facilitator, a contractual facilitator for the Citizen Security Program. It was done with the National Security, the Ministry of National Security. And it was a program where we were teaching soft skills through our mandatory workforce preparatory training, MWPP training, to at-risk youth, to guide them to more a purposeful path in life. And that in December of 2018, I actually joined the National Training Agency as a full-time member, firstly working briefly in New Providence and then transitioning to Exuma, where the office manager. I also serve a verifier, which is a leadership and management professional development program.
Awesome. I believe Mr. Miller, he's going to ask you your next question.
Well, before we get to the next question, I just want to say that this is how I met Mrs. Saunders. We both were facilitators in our program, and it was really an encouraging program for the young people out there who are at risk and needed something to change their lives, needed something to look forward to. So I want to thank you, Mrs. Saunders, for joining that program and continuing to be with us full time. So thank you so much. Okay, so my next question is,
certainly.
So my next question is, what are the areas of training currently available in Exuma?
Well, in Exuma, in the past, we, like other arms of the National Training Agency, we would have offered the mandatory workforce preparatory training, MWPP, and for unemployed young adults here in Exuma for unemployed young ages 16 to 35. And we also would have been targeting those persons who did not academically in the traditional secondary setting. So persons who may not have achieved or attained the BJCs and BGCSEs, this was some sort of certification and to make them employable. And in recent times, we have taken that program, and we have began to fashion that here in Exuma, this job readiness program in some of the schools here in Exuma. That's something that I've been doing, really concentrating on the last 2 years in terms of readiness, working with the secondary school students in schools such as Winston and Coakley Government High School here in Exuma, and also working to some degree Exuma Christian Academy, a small private school here in Exuma, and also doing occasionally with Anglican school. I would say that that is a way in which we are finding a for persons to begin to the world of work is all about, because many young perception of what it means to actually be a working person. You have to get up at a certain time. You can't be on your own. You have to know yourself, how to dress appropriately, how to respond to persons who come into the organization or into the business. And these are things that I began to work on with high school students, so that when they leave high school, especially, and even who have in the BGCSEs, they still also need to know how to be work ready. And work readiness can begin with summer jobs. Many of them would get summer jobs. If they do go to university, they're going to maybe have on-campus jobs. And obviously also when they go into their actual careers, we not only want them to have the technical or hard skills, we want them to have the soft skills, as we call them, to be able to function appropriately in a working environment. I began to do that and as you can tell, it's something that I'm really excited about. I've been doing it for the last 2 years. And in terms of just recently, we're in July now? Yes. Just earlier this month, I had a meeting with Mr. Elkino Dames, who is the senior master of the Ellen Coakley High School. And he and I were discussing ways in which we can really make that program impactful at that high school come September. We want to marry that program with a mentorship program, and this program will peer mentorship. So if you or the students who maybe are not the ones who are strong academically, we can pair so they can work on being more motivated, being more goal-oriented, and to marry that all for both with the work readiness and the job readiness training. And so I'm really excited about that new venture.
Wow, that's a lot of information there. And I'm telling you, it's phenomenal the work that you are already doing. And you already went over into our next question, because I was about to ask you, about some things you wanted to highlight about what's happening there in NTA Exuma. But is there anything else that you want to tell us, like some moments that stand out, especially over the last year, that you would like to tell us a little bit more about?
Well, moments that stand out, I will start with the National Training Agency's 10th anniversary. The National Training Agency last year throughout the Bahamas, both in New Providence, Grand Bahama, and here in Exuma. Sorry, my mic is muted briefly. I would say I would want to highlight the National Training Agency's 10th anniversary celebrations last year, where the National Training Agency throughout the Bahamas, in New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Exuma would have celebrated its 10th anniversary. And here in Exuma, that was a special time for us because we had a speech competition for from the 3 high schools. That would be St. Andrew's Anglican School, that would be Exuma Christian Academy, and Ellen Coakley High School. And it was a competition where there were students from 2 to 3 students from each of those schools competing to discuss the NTA has made an impact in these years. And at the end, I was pleased to see that there was a student from each of the 3 schools. And I believe if you visit the National Training Agency's website, you may see a picture to that effect. And that again embodies what I'm trying to do here in serve a role for young persons beginning from in the high school at the secondary level, for all of the schools. So that was last year. This year, we presented an award student at Ellen Coakley, who was in terms of the Teachers Cadet Training Program, the Future Teacher Award to Ms. Carrington Cash. Ms. Cash is someone who I believe will be an educator to be reckoned with. She graduated with the principal's list and on the honor roll, and at Exuma Christian Academy, it turned out that the student who excelled in the work readiness program, Ms. Navia Grant, also ended the valedictorian of the school, and she received an award from the National Training Agency in Exuma. She and the other graduates received a copy of Ms. Marcel's book for young persons entitled Ladies and Gentlemen, Please. And she was also very pleased and elated to receive a $200 cash award accomplishment, because in essence, she was the star recipient for the high school job readiness program.
Awesome.
But beyond the high schools, I also work with the Institute of Leadership and Management. And as I would have mentioned, the NTA, we work with young persons, especially young persons who have not excelled academically or who may be at risk. And when we talk about at risk, that is a social work term, meaning persons who are at risk at failing and persons who perhaps are at risk turning towards perhaps the unsociable or antisocial pursuits. But the National Training Agency also has an arm called the Institute of Leadership and Management, and that is for working professionals who want to upskill themselves, who want to enhance their supervisory and managerial skills and to work their way up the ladder. So the ILM program is for persons who are already employed, want to work their way up the corporate ladder to become at supervision and management. And for that, which is a City and Guilds program. City and Guilds is an organization out of 100 years, and the Institute of Leadership and Management program, or ILM program, is a professional development program. It is a development program. It is NACORB approved. It is a program where at the end of the program, I interview learners for a course of at the end of the program. They always speak to the fact that this program not only their lives, but also their personal lives in terms of what they would have learned. Because in that program, you're learning how to become an effective communicator. You're learning how to be a professional business writer. You're learning how to resolve conflict effectively in the work environment. You're learning how to deal with stress effectively, and a myriad of other skill sets that you only on the job, but in your personal lives. And interview persons at the end of that program, they do remark that, I learned about effective communication, but I'm now also applying what I learned not only with my subordinates at work or with my superiors at work, I'm also applying that in my family life. I'm applying that with my. So the program has done this program, and at this point, I have participated in six cohorts, 6 groupings of the Institute of Leadership Management programs, and never has anyone said that the program was not beneficial to them.
That's right. That's right.
Once. Mm-hmm. That's right.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, Mr. Saunders. You're right.
So I know that was a lot to digest.
Well, the program is very impactful, and I want to say thank you for sharing, all the information that you provided, because it gives the public insight into how powerful the programs are that we have here at the National Training Agency and also the Institute of Leadership and Management. So I have a question, Mr. Saunders, and this is unrelated to what we want to talk about right now. It's no one of our questions that's written down. So,
really?
in Exuma, so in Exuma, when the pandemic hit us in 2020, I just want to get your opinion. How did that affect education and also the workforce? So, in your opinion, like what you've seen since then, how did that impact how the workforce responded and how educators responded to the pandemic?
Well, educators in general, including the training agency, the National Training Agency, responded by pivoting to online learning. At that time, we were utilizing a learning management system called Brightspace Dare to Learn. And that was a way in which we were able to continue to offer programs and facilitate programs here in Exuma. At the same time, programs were ongoing in New Providence. And it increased accessibility to our programs in Exuma. And in general, educational sector, whether you're talking about the technical vocational secondary at that time, pivoted to online learning using various management platforms. And so learning continued on. Learning and training continued on.
Awesome. That's really great. And it's so great that Mr. Miller asked that question, because definitely we found a way. To keep things going. And I think we did a very good job at it. And before we go into our next set of questions, we're just going to pause for a commercial break from one of our sponsors, and then we'll be right back. Again, thank you so much for joining us online today. Continue to like and share this show.
As Bahamians, we are dedicated to supporting and uplifting our people. We do this by creating healthier communities and improving lives with a team of dedicated medical professionals with an array of subspecialties. We provide patient-centered, high-quality, holistic healthcare with state-of-the-art equipment across our network, including outpatient surgery and treatments. Our industry-standard kidney clinic, imaging, pharmacy, ambulance, rehabilitation, and laboratory services assist patients across our beautiful island. As we celebrate our nation and all that makes us proud to be Bahamian, we do so in love and unity. Like the strong, resilient oak tree, we stand with you when you need us. We are more than medical. We are community. Oak Tree Medical Center, caring, compassionate, complete. Visit us at www.oaktreemedicalcenter.com.
Well, good evening again, everybody. For those of you who are just joining us, we are on live, another edition here of NTA Exclusive, and we're on with our office manager in Exuma in the person of Miss Christabel Saunders, and she has been giving us a whole lot of information about what is happening in Exuma and the role that she plays in all of that. She also already talked about her involvement in our Institute of Leadership and Management approved center. And it brings me to my next question. I can remember Ms. Saunders going on Facebook and all of the other postings, seeing some great things that happened with persons in Exuma that passed through the ILM training. And are there any success stories for persons that you know that went through the ILM training that you would like to share with us today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly. Cohort 4 and of the Institute and Leadership Management programs, our professional development program, here from Exuma, participate in that. And one of them, Mrs. Sabrina Fowler, actually emerged as the top learner for that program, not just here in Exuma, but for the entire Bahamas. I would like to think she completed the program. What influenced her promotion, because she did get promoted, was the fact that she had done our ILM training. And we had a presentation here in Exuma with the Honorable I. Chester Cooper. As we know, he is our Member of Parliament and also Prime Minister of the Commonwealth. And so that was also a special moment for here in Exuma, cohorts 4 and 5. And there were persons in that cohort who came from government departments. We had Bahamas Power and Light. We had Department of Environmental Health, where Mrs. Fowler came from, BAIC, Water and Sewage, the Ministry of Tourism.
Wow.
So I know some ask, what will their or particular organization look favorably upon an ILM certification? And I can say certainly that is true. Mrs. Fowler proved that. And indeed, in successive cohorts, we've had cohorts of senior police officers. And the cohort that we had, presently we're in cohort 10. Stick a pin there, I'm going to talk about that. But we've had cohorts where we've had senior police officers and also of senior immigration officers. What that we had with the senior police officers, which I believe was the cohort before this one, cohort 9, if I'm correct, Mr. Miller. And overwhelmingly, most of those police officers, senior officers, when they had finished this program, the Institute of Leadership and Management ILM program, most of them attained promotions. Most of them.
Yes.
One of them, in fact, went on to become the first female officer in charge of Grand Bahama.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
Yes. That's a great feat.
ILM program. That's correct. Mm-hmm. And in that cohort, we had senior police officers. We had someone from the Department of Forestry. We had a senior executive in the insurance industry. And again, overwhelmingly, when I do, as part of my quality assurance, when I do the course evaluation form at the end and I interview these persons, overwhelmingly the comments are always positive. They were always happy that they had participated in this program. They always spoke of the benefits that accrued to them in their job and also in other aspects of their lives every single time. Because part of what I do as the internal verifier or the internal quality assurance person is I ensure that our programs here, this program, the ILM program, meets the integrity standards, the learning integrity standards of City and Guilds. And remember, I would have mentioned City and Guilds is a 100-year-old institution.
Wow.
And if you're as old as I am, you may remember.
Wait. As young as you are. As young as you are.
I still look good. Thanks. Do they still have pigments? I don't know. But in my day and age, when I was in secondary school, there were these things called pigments. And I am advised that pigments evolved City and Guilds, or City and Guilds is a part of pigments. So again, the City and Guilds is an organization that's well established and it's been around for a long time and has been known to provide quality certifications. So when you get that ILM certificate, that really does say that you have achieved something.
Something
a lot. But.
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders, we're so proud of the Institute of Leadership and Management, our approved center here, because the program is really all about performance and productivity improvement. And we see in our society today that some organizations, need that training. Some organizations need that assistance. So it's so important for organizations to recognize that, hey, how can we improve our performance? How can we improve our productivity? Come and support our Institute of Leadership and Management programs. We have a level 2 certificate in leadership and team skills and a level 3 certificate in leadership and management. So we just want to share that, let the public know this is a program that's going to transform your organization, bring your team members. It will change their lives forever.
Well, now that you're sharing all this information about ILM, you might as well just tell them how they can actually sign up for this. What are the numbers to call? I'm sure, either one of you can provide that information right now.
Okay, excellent. So if you want to sign up for our ILM program, you can reach us at 242-461-6000. That's 242-461-6000 or 6024. And you can ask for our ILM department, and we will take care of you. We also have a website. If you go on our website, www.ntabahamas.org, if you hover over our offerings, you will see the Institute of Leadership and Management. When you go on that page, you will see all the information about ILM. You will see the level 2 program, the level 3 program. You will see testimonials, and you'll also be able to sign up. So you can give us a call, 242-461-6000 or 6024. Visit our website, www.ntabahamas.org. Hover over offerings. The drop-down menu will show you Institute of Leadership and Management. Check out all the information and sign up.
Awesome. Thank you all for that information. This has been a lot of information, and I believe that as people continue to share this link with their family and friends, they'll definitely know more about what's happening in Exuma and also the fine work that Ms. Saunders is doing in our ILM Approved Center. I want to ask another question of you, Ms. Saunders. I know sometimes being on the family islands, there may be challenges that you face that we in Nassau may or may not face. And I just want to ask you, are there any challenges that you would like to discuss with the audience today that you would definitely like to overcome in the near future?
Thank you so much for that question, Mr. Cunningham. Of course, I should mention that I'm not originally from Exuma, but my family and I have made our lives here, our home here in Exuma for some 22 years. Look good. Anyway, so you learn living on a family island and working on a family island that there sometimes tends to be a lot of focus on New Providence. And that focus also comes in the form of access to resources, including access to educational and access to educational resources at the post-secondary level, especially because, you know, there is a secondary school, there are 2 private independent schools. But when you talk about post-secondary training and post-secondary education and technical education, that isn't always available on family islands. And something who's lived here for a long time and someone who is passionate about that aspect of education, I want to see there be more access for residents of family islands.
Yes.
Okay. The Bahamas is and has always been an archipelago. And the Bahamas is much more than New Providence. And
Correct.
once you live on one of our
Once you live on our family islands, you will experience it. You will fully understand.
Yeah. If you can hear us, Ms. Saunders, you're just freezing up a little bit. It must be something with the internet connection. Forgive us, those who are watching. You know, Ms. Saunders is all the way in Exuma, and she's just having a little bit of challenge with internet connectivity. Hopefully she'll unfreeze in a few minutes. But Mr. Miller, this has been awesome so far, hearing from Ms. Saunders, and it's excellent information. We may have to do this show again, perhaps when Ms. Saunders is actually here on spot, you know, but this is excellent information she is providing.
Yeah, and this is one of the challenges that she's speaking about now. Like
Exactly.
You said, internet connection.
Exactly.
So these are the things that we have to consider when it comes to, you know, we live in New Providence. So sometimes we may complain and say, you know, the internet is slow or we don't have this or that. But in the family islands, they have much less.
That's right.
So we definitely understand, Mr. Saunders, what she was saying, some of the challenges. And, you know, the Bahamas is bigger than New Providence. There's many islands, and they all need to get the same love, care, and appreciation.
Definitely. And there's so much potential, not only in Exuma, but so many of the other islands. But Exuma is what we are focusing on today. You know, I really would like to see more happening in Exuma and I believe that's definitely in the very near future. It looks like she's trying to come back on now. Let me add her back to the studio.
Yeah, and I could tell you that, Exuma, I've never been to Exuma before. I definitely want to visit.
What?
I know,
What?
I know, I know, I know. I've heard how beautiful it is. And I definitely want to visit at some point, to be able to see the island, get the experience, and be able to bring something back home, to have a better appreciation, for
Yes.
Exuma and the family islands. Mrs. Saunders,
Yeah.
welcome back.
Looks like she's still having some issues there.
But we definitely, pray that those challenges, are addressed, because, we want to make sure that in the family islands, especially Exuma, as we are focusing on today, that they have the same opportunities that we have here in the province to get good internet and other things. So,
Yes.
but we definitely gotta have a second show. We need to have a second show for Mrs. Saunders, because she
Oh,
gave
definitely,
valuable
definitely.
information. And I know she wanted to expand on cohort 10 with our Ocean Key learners. I know she wanted to expand on that. And we pray that she's able to come back to us so we can have that good conversation about it. Maybe I can start the conversation. I can start by just speaking about how we traveled to Ocean Key, and we spent 2 weeks on island. And myself and our level 2 assessor, Ms. Ione Hepburn, we had the opportunity to deliver the level 2 leadership and team skills training, and also the level 3 leadership and management training. And Mrs. Saunders would have been online, viewing the class sessions to see what was happening, to make sure that we were in compliance. And it really was a good experience. It was unique because it was a shorter, more condensed program, but it was definitely a unique and a good experience for us to be able to partner with MSC Cruises. As you know, MSC Cruises has their cruise line company, and they're the Mediterranean shipping company. So it's a global company. So it's our first time being able to partner with a brand that is global. So it's really a good experience. But we definitely look forward to Mrs. Saunders coming back on the show. If not, we definitely understand. But she gave a lot of great information, Mr. Cunningham. What do you think?
Oh, yes. It looks like she's back with us. Miss Saunders, can you hear us? Okay, awesome.
Yes, I can hear you. And I guess certainly that is a challenge that we experience sometimes in the family islands.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, my BTC internet
We won't call no
decided
names.
to not work a moment ago.
We want to make sure it still works.
Nowadays in the family islands, we have options. And, when one internet service provider does not work, we can pivot to another one, which I have done.
Wow. Yes, and it looks like it's much better. We can hear you. We can hear you much better.
Okay. I should have done this one from the beginning, I gather.
Is this alive? Are you alive?
So anyway, obviously, yes. In the family islands, we have options, and when one internet service provider doesn't work, you can use another one. And I know some other persons also get internet via satellite. So there are options, and there are options to increase accessibility to educational avenues. Okay, it's not like we don't have access to internet.
Correct. We're glad to have you back. We can continue our conversation, because while you were gone, we said, hey, this is one of the challenges in Exuma, the internet connection. So we had a good conversation while you were gone, but now you're back.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. He started to talk about your experience dealing with the Ocean Key area. I don't know if you would like to share any information on that experience.
Okay, so presently for our Institute of Leadership and Management, ILM, we are coming to the end of cohort 10, our 10th ILM cohort. And this was the first time that we would have done a cohort that was not based out of New Providence. We were doing a cohort for an organization called MSC Cruises, and an ILM team actually traveled to Ocean Key. Ocean Key is a key off of Bimini Island. And they were there on site in Bimini. Mr. Miller was one of those persons on site in Bimini for a period of about 2 weeks. And then the cohort continued virtually after that point using Microsoft Teams. And this highlights again the fact that we here at the National Training Agency, we are on the cutting edge of using instructional technology.
Yes.
Right now we're using StreamYard, we use Zoom, we use Microsoft Teams. As I mentioned before, we would have had a learning management system. And so we are finding ways to make the programs that we offer accessible to persons throughout the Bahamas. And so we had this cohort, and the persons in cohort 10, many of them would have been residents of Bimini, because as I said, Ocean Key is a key off of Bimini. And that was also a cohort where we had many international learners, because MSC Cruises is an international organization, a multinational corporation, so to speak. And so there were learners from various different countries who happened to be working for MSC Cruises. And so it was an opportunity for us to demonstrate that at the National Training Agency and the Institute of Leadership and Management, we believe in diversity and inclusion for persons, whatever their cultural identity.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Miller can perhaps share more about some of the countries of origin of some of the learners who are in cohort 10, because we're still working on finalizing that cohort actually.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Yes, so we had individuals from Africa, Bulgaria, Colombia, India, all over the world. And to be on the key and have that experience with them, learning their cultures, being able to sit down and have conversations with them, even just hearing their accents and hearing some of the customs from their countries. It was amazing. So it was definitely an immersive experience for me, being in the training room with them and being able to experience that with them. And it was definitely a life-changing experience for me. So I'm so grateful I'm able to not just, listen, we love our Bahamians. Like we Bahamian, we love our Bahamians, and we wanted our foreigners to taste what we have to offer, the great things we have to offer in the Bahamas. So it was definitely a great experience.
Awesome. We have one last question, but just before we go to that last question, and we're also going to give Ms. Saunders just one last opportunity to give us any closing remarks that she would like to do, but we just have one more commercial break, and then we'll come back with the last part of our show.
Do you long for an unwavering sense of purpose and conviction? Repositioned, Here to Air by Agatha K. Marcel dispels the myth that to be successful, one must maintain a separate personal and professional life. Learn how childhood interests are strong indicators of the path you will take and how your fundamental principles and morals will stay with you even through life's detours. Your purpose comes from God, and the closer you get to Him, the clearer your purpose will become. Available at Amazon, your local bookstore, or at trilogy.tv.
Well, good evening again, Bahamas. For those of you who are just joining us, we have been on live on Facebook and YouTube talking with our office manager in Exuma, in the person of Ms. Christabel Saunders, and she has given us a wealth of information about what is happening in Exuma and also her involvement in the ILM Approved Center. I've been joined by my co-host and my work neighbor, Mr. Jadian Miller. And it's been an awesome show. We're probably going to have to do this again in person, Ms. Saunders, just so that we can have a clearer reception, because I wouldn't want people to miss out on all of the information that you shared with us today. So definitely we're going to see how we can arrange that for the future. Either we come there or you come here and we can do this show again in person. But I want to ask you, what's next for you in the Exuma office? Is there an immediate goal, an immediate goal that you have in mind?
Thank you so much for that question, Mr. Cunningham. Well, one of the things, one of the programs that I have also been discussing is a program to work along with our radio station here, 98.3 The Blaze. I would have met with the station manager, Miss Glendia Monroe, and we were discussing ways in which we could highlight all of the positive things which young persons are doing here in Exuma. Because, sometimes we in the Bahamas, and not just the Bahamas, the world, tend to focus on the negative things that young persons are doing, when there are so many young people excelling in various ways, and not just academics. We're talking about persons excelling in sports, persons excelling in civics. We have, for example, here in Exuma, I believe the first person from the family island, in the person of Pablo Smith, who will be attending Harvard.
Wow.
He got into Harvard. You all may have seen it. It was all over the news.
Yes, all over the news.
Yes. And he is a student of Ellen Coakley High School.
Wow.
And we also have here in Exuma the last, and I would dare say the best, Miss Teen Bahamas International, in the person of Miss Ricky Curling, who comes from Exuma Christian Academy. And later this month, into early August, she will be competing in an international pageant to be held in Tennessee in the United States of America.
Oh, wow.
And we have other young persons who have gotten doctorate degrees. We have other young persons who recently participated in a track meet in Jacksonville, Florida. And so young people here in Exuma, and we want to bring light to that, to motivate persons, young persons in particular, who may think that they can't do that too. We want to show them, yes, you can. And as I said, it isn't only about academics, it's about all the plethora of things, positive things that one can do.
Wow. Listen to me. I know a couple of weeks ago I was telling them I was ready to move to Grand Bahama, but I think I switched now, Mr. Miller. I got to move to Exuma. You know, they sound like they're the best kept secret. What'd you say?
Yeah, I mean, I need to see it first. So, you know, I mean, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't move yet.
Well, you need to fix that. But I can tell you Exuma is beautiful, and obviously Ms. Saunders is doing some awesome work over there, and we appreciate you. We appreciate you, Ms. Saunders, and all that you're doing. It's not unnoticed, and we thank you for all that you have done for and with the National Training Agency over the years. Well, believe it or not, folks, we have come to the end of our show, and we're so happy that you were able to join us. Mr. Miller, I don't know if you have anything in closing you would like to say before we close out.
Yes. I just want to say publicly, thank you, Mr. Saunders, for all that you do in Exuma. Thank you for all your support and help with ILM. You know, I appreciate you very much. You're far away, but you're still close to me. So thank you for all that you do. I appreciate you, and keep up the great work. And I'm always going to have your back. Even though I'm far, I'm always going to have your back.
Awesome. One more thing, Ms. Saunders, for those who are not familiar with the Exuma office over there, can you tell them exactly where the Exuma office is located? And if they would like to get any information, or if they have any questions, the number that they can dial.
Yes, thank you so much for that question, Mr. Cunningham. The Exuma office is located in the Turquoise Star Plaza next to Royal Bank. It's next to the staircase, kind of under the staircase. And we have been there for the past 10 years. I'm the third manager for the NTA in Exuma. Our telephone number, our landline, is 336-3345. And there is a cellular number as well that I usually have with me. And that number is 524-9112. And you can contact me on the cellular, also by WhatsApp, 524-9112. And obviously, I'm always willing and ready to assist, especially if young people are involved. If you live in Exuma and you know someone from Exuma and you ask them, they can tell you the many ways, even before I worked for the NTA, that I was always being involved with positivity and making a way for young persons here on the island.
That is awesome. I don't think we could have had a better person in Exuma, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, no. The right one.
Yes.
Right lady for the job.
Well, thank you again, Ms. Saunders. That's right. Tell him again.
Yes, Mr. Cunningham. Mr. Cunningham has been here, so Mr. Cunningham knows how beautiful it is and what's here. But you don't know. You're the typical Nasuvian who doesn't know what you're missing.
That's right.
So I
That's
would
right.
like to encourage you to make a visit to our beautiful shores here on Great Exuma Island.
Awesome.
Well,
Awesome.
Mr. Saunders, I'll let my good work neighbor pay for my ticket, and I'll definitely come over.
That must be the other neighbor. But anyway, thank you all for joining us on NTA Exclusive today. We promise that we will be back either with a repeat of this same show or a part 2 of this show. And I'm hoping, Ms. Saunders, that can be in person. We'll speak to the powers that be to make sure that happens. But God bless you all. Thank you for joining us today, whether on Facebook or YouTube. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Take care, everyone. God bless.
Good evening.